Good evening, and welcome back to the Brickhead family and the 31 days of Halloween. I am your humble host, Dead Daddy Brickhead. And tonight, of all nights, is Halloween. Our final night here on the Brickhead family. And what better way to celebrate Halloween than one of the most famous haunted poems of all time from my favorite poet, Edgar Allan Poe. We bring you the reading of The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious vial of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping on my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Distinctly I remember, it was a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore. For the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "oh madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wandering, fearing, doubting, dreaming, dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely there is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what there is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when my many a flutter, and there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obsequious made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mane of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the contents it wore. Though my crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim, an ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly. Thou its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon and sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lowly on the placid ballast, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther did he uttered, not a feather that he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master from unmerciful disaster, followed fast and followed faster till his songs once burden bore, till the digress of his hope and melancholy burden bore of nevermore. But the raven still beguilingly all my fancy into smiling. Straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird and bust in door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking, fancy upon fancy, thinking, what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight gloating o'er, still shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by a seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee respite, and Nephine from his memories of Lenore. Quoth this kind Nephine, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempters tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet undaunted, on the desert land enchanted, on his home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm of Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that haven as bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it still clasps its Satan maiden, whose the angel's name Lenore. clasped a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thy back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie the soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beat from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all them seeming of a demon that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er streaming throws his shadows on the floor. And my soul, from out thy shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted never more. And that completes our 31 days of Halloween. Be sure to tune in next year as we bring you a new 31 days of Halloween. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back in the crypt. And as always, unpleasant